Hello and welcome to my creative space. Welcome to another DIY video. In today's video, I have a whole bunch of inspo. I hope you enjoy. Let's jump into the video. For this DIY, I'm taking one of the foam wreaths from the Dollar Tree. This bouquet of greenery, I won't be using the pink flowers, but I will use the greenery on there. Now I also take these white flowers at the beginning, then I end up switching them. So I remove the flowers, as you can see, off the stems and start sticking them on there. If you are using flowers, then you should do this step. If not, then you should skip it and just add the Spanish moss like I'm doing right now with hot glue. And as you can see, the other greenery pieces, I trim them off individually and I will keep them there until I finish doing the Spanish moss. So all I do is just add the Spanish moss on there. One pack should be enough, but I had used the moss for a different project, so I didn't have enough, but you will see some bald spots that will get covered later. Okay, here's what it's looking like so far. And now that I have this on there, I'm gonna start with my greenery individual pieces that I cut out, and I will start adding them on my wreath wherever I think it needs it. It ends up covering most of it and it ends up looking good, way better at the end when I take off those white flowers. But anyway, so I'm just starting adding it on there. Some of the little pieces are a little bit flimsy, so you might want to use hot glue. Some of them I did, not a lot of them, but some of them I did end up using hot glue on them. Now it's time to grab my candle holder, and I'm going to paint this white with my acrylic white paint. It will be linked in the description box if you're interested. And then once I paint my candle white and let it dry, I'm gonna grab my brown Waverly paint and I'm going to distress it with this. And then once I am done doing that and that is dry, I'm gonna take the candle holder, and I use this screw. You could use a pencil or something else, but I basically just kind of marked exactly where I need to cut to help my candle holder fit. And then I just grab my scissors and start cutting wherever I needed to cut. And then once I do that, I do end up making a big hole in there, but it's okay because it'll get covered here, right there. It's really big, but it's fine. So I add some hot glue, and then I take my wreath and set it on top of the candle holder, and then I just add some hot glue to help it stay in place. And that is what it's looking like. Now the next day I still wasn't happy about it, so I make a run to the Dollar Tree and I found this beautiful greenery that was in store last year, and I was really happy to see that they had the same ones and even better ones now. And so I remove all the ugly white flowers, and then I take this greenery pieces and I basically cut individually the branches, and then I take those and then I start adding them onto my wreath, and I love this way better. I also try to find more Spanish moss to add to my wreath, but I wasn't lucky enough to find it. They didn't have any at my local Dollar Tree, so whatever. But anyway, I believe I end up using 3 bouquets of these little greenery pieces, and at the end I had a few that I wasn't sure where I wanted to put them, so I kind of just put them there at the bottom, where I still had some bald spots and you were still able to see the floral foam. But anyway, this is what it's looking like, and I am loving it way better than what I had going on at the beginning. I'm glad I made the run to the Dollar Tree, and here is a picture of the end result. I love how this wreath turned out. Let me know what you think. For DIY number 2, here is some of the stuff that I will be using. The Jenga block, disregard because we will not be needing those. What we will be using is this windmill that the Dollar Tree is selling, and I start by removing the little chain hook that they come with, and I also want to remove the welcome sign part of this, and this metal was really tough to get off. I did struggle a little bit, but at the end I ended up taking it off. I took off more than what I wanted, but I still had the windmill, and that was a win-win for me. So I do end up removing the front little metal piece that they have, and then I just did a little bending back and forth until I got rid of the whole thing, as you can see. Now that I remove that off, I take the little circle that it comes in the front and I kind of trim off the metal piece that I am not going to need. All right, now I'm going to grab one of these Dollar Tree shatter boxes, and this one I had it from a long time ago, but I really like it because it was already looking distressed and rustic, just how I like it, and I thought it went very well with the theme. Now this is optional, but I thought that putting paper under would be great for when I go and glue, and so I put it back in there. But anyway, now I took 3 of these wooden rods and I painted them black. Now you can do any color, but I went for black and I think they look amazing. I also took this bamboo stick and I painted a little bit of it, and then I trimmed that off, and that is going to be what holds my little piece from my windmill. Okay, leaving that to the side, now it's time to glue my wooden rods into place. And so I take the first one and add some hot glue, and then I was kind of measuring to see where everything was gonna go, and once I decided where everything was going, I added some more hot glue and I added my wooden rods in place. And then once I had them there, I kind of held them for a little bit until they were a little bit dry. Once they were a little bit dry, I added some hot glue to the top to hold them in place, and then I just reinforced with a lot more glue on the corners, and just to make sure that it was going to be stable and it was not going to fall apart. Once I had that ready to go, I took a little piece of this jute rope just to secure the top and make sure that it's not going to be moving around, and I created a couple of knots, and then I wrapped it around a little bit and then created more knots on there, and then reinforced with some hot glue. And once I had it all glued together, I added some black paint just to cover that up because everything is black and I didn't want that showing, so I added the black paint. Now that I have that ready to go, I'm going to take my windmill and my little front piece, and I did end up trimming it off because it was a little bit too long. But anyway, so I add some hot glue, and then as you can see right there, there is a little bit of a space in between the rope and the wooden rods, and that's where I stick my windmill. And I add some hot glue again, and then I also took a piece of tape to make sure that it was gonna glue exactly where I wanted it to glue and hold my windmill in place. But anyway, now I'm gonna take some floral foam and I'm going to glue it into my box, and after I am done gluing that down, I'll take some greenery, as you can see this one's, and some Spanish moss, and I'm gonna start adding all of that. Now I removed the little tape that was holding my windmill, and it does spin, but it's kind of wobbly, and it did make me a little sad because the whole purpose of me putting the stick through it was to help it and make it spin. But I think it's because I glued the little stick kind of like up a little bit, and that's why. But anyway, so as you can see, I added my Spanish moss, and then the greenery I end up trimming individual pieces, and I like it way better. I also thought they were a little bit too tall, so I end up bending the top down, and I like it way better. Now I'm gonna take these little flowers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm gonna add those into place. As you can see, I was adding them by themselves, but they were not sticking into the foam, so I kind of cut out a little piece of the little stem that they come with, and that was way better. I also end up trimming the tops because I didn't really like them. I think that they were again too tall, so I end up removing those off, and I like it way better. And after I was done, here is the end result. I'm in love of how this windmill box turned. For this DIY, I'm gonna take these 3 different buckets from the Dollar Tree. This tin bucket we all want from the Dollar Tree, and they have it every year, and I love it. I didn't get to pick it up last year because they ran out really fast, but anyway, so the pink one is also from the Dollar Tree, and I was really happy that they sell them now. And the little ones, they are in the wedding section, and it comes in a pack of 2, so I just took one. But anyway, so I am basically going to paint all of these white, well, the pink one and the tin one. I'm gonna paint them white, and I will basically be giving them a couple of layers of white paint to make sure that it covers everything up and it has the coverage that I need. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now I want to mention that the creation of this DIY was thanks to my mom. I wasn't sure what to do, and she gave me this great idea, and I am so grateful. So this is a collab with my mom, and I'm so happy. Anyway, now that they are dried, I'm gonna take some black paint and I am going to add it on the edges of these buckets. Now, as you can see, I kind of made a mistake, but it's totally fine because I am going for that. So it will have some strokes like the paint is peeling off or whatever, and you can see the black on there. I really love how this looks, and it's so fun because you cannot mess it up, because it's literally what I'm trying to do, mess it up to make it look like it was meant to be there. But anyway, so I do the top rim and the bottom rim, and then I just add random spots on there to help it look a little bit more rustic and used. Now, as you can see, the little one was already painted because I did it a few days ago before I did this, but I basically did the exact same thing, and I think they look adorable. So I'm doing the big one now, and again, I'm just painting it. As you can see, I painted a little bit on the inside because I wasn't sure what I was gonna put inside yet, and I was trying to make sure that if it was showing, it was gonna look white just like the outside. But anyway, I decided to leave the words on this bucket covered up with white paint, but you can absolutely scrape it off and have those words showing. Okay, now I'm gonna take 2 of these wooden rods from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to stain them with this stain that I have. I will leave it in the description box, the color and everything. All right, now that all my pieces are ready, it's time to start adding them together, and I am going to take my middle bucket and I take my wooden rod and I kind of just see exactly where I need to cut, and then I just take this, I think they're called pruners, and yes, I did squish my hand, don't mind me. But anyway, so I take that and then I figure out exactly where I need to glue it, and then add a lot of glue, and don't worry about that because we'll cover that up later. Okay, now that I added the glue, I kind of hold it in place for a little bit so it can dry. Now I take my bucket, and as you can see, I don't know why I didn't thought about the pink showing at the bottom, but I do end up fixing that later. I do add some hot glue and kind of place my bucket exactly where I need it to be, and then add some hot glue on there to secure it, and it works out really good. Once I am done with that one, I glue the second wooden dowel, and I also end up trimming it to the size I needed, and then I take my little tiny cute bucket and I glue it into place. Now this is not heavy at all, so these wooden rods are going to hold perfectly fine. And I do the exact same thing. I add some hot glue, and I kind of wish I would have realized that I wasn't showing you, but here you are. You can see exactly where I glue everything. Now to cover that up, because I don't want that glue showing, I add some white paint where I needed to add the white paint, and I think it looks amazing. To me, it feels like it was actually welded into place because it blends so good with everything. And but anyway, that's just me. But here is where I realized that I didn't paint the bottom of my bucket, and I was like, well, too late to remove everything, so I just basically painted it while it was sitting there. But I would suggest you do it before you glue everything down so you can take off that ugly sticker. But anyway, once I am done painting with the white, I take my black paint and basically go in where I think it needs it, and where I accidentally painted it white. But anyway, so that's all I'm gonna do, just kind of go back with the little details and stuff. Once they are completed, I'm gonna take 4 of the wooden cubes and 4 of the Jenga blocks, and I am going to stain them. Once I am done staining them, I will be taking some hot glue and gluing those at the bottom, because those will be the legs of my little fountain. And I'm going to admit that I wasn't sure if I wanted to put legs on these, but then I went and asked my mom for her opinion, and she approved, and that's why I proceeded with the legs. And I'm so happy I did, because I think they look amazing. I think it gives this little bucket fountain a really high-end look, and here is what it's looking like. Woohoo, it's looking amazing. Okay, so I ran out of the floral foam, and when I made that run to the Dollar Tree, I could not find any more. So I had these styrofoam balls that I had bought for like Christmas ornaments and stuff, and I just trim off the bottom to help them sit down and glue down at the bottom of this bucket. And so I just added some hot glue and started adding my little styrofoam bowls in there to help my greenery stay in place. Okay, once I was done gluing those down, I had these scraps of floral foam, and I add those to the little buckets because they will also have greenery in them, and I needed that for that. But anyway, I also decided to add some LED lights that I had picked up from the Dollar Tree during Christmas. So because this is a little fountain, I wanted to add some fun to it, so that's why I decided to add the lights, and I basically place them where I can reach them to turn them on and off. So if you do this, just make sure that you put the switch or the little battery box wherever you can actually turn them on and off. Okay, so now the Christmas or the little LED lights, they are not wanting to stay in place, so I add some hot glue to place them exactly where I want them to be. And once all the lights are glued down, I go in with my Spanish moss, and I also as I'm adding the moss, I am adjusting the lights because they kind of got pushed down and I do want them to show. So I just add Spanish moss and kind of fix them until I finish adding the Spanish moss on there. Okay, so I found these really cool greenery pieces that come with these white stems that I thought would be perfect to use as water, or I like to pretend it's water. But so basically I take them and I glue them on the wire of these LED lights to, one, cover them up, and two, make it seem like it's water. And I think they look really good, but I don't know, you let me know what you think in the comments down below. So basically I just added hot glue along the wire and then took pieces and glued them down, and yeah, that's basically all I do until I cover the whole thing up. And now it's time to add greenery to our fountain, and I basically take each bouquet and trim off each branch, and I use 3 different types of little greeneries that they are all from the Dollar Tree, but basically I just started adding them on there, and I think it's looking amazing. I think this year's Dollar Tree greenery is really pretty. Okay, now I'm gonna take some more of these white long stems, and I will be adding more because I feel like they kind of got lost a little bit in all that greenery that I put on my bucket. But anyway, now I'm gonna start adding some greenery into the smaller buckets. I do end up adding some Spanish moss to the middle bucket just because I was trying to cover up the floral foam, and then I go in with more of this same Dollar Tree greenery, and I really love how this is looking. For the top one, I add more green than purple, and then I also go back with some more of the white stems, just, I don't know, to add more and make it look fuller. And yeah, that's all I do for this. I feel like this is my favorite DIY. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite DIY. For DIY number 1, I'm taking 2 Dollar Tree canvas. These ones are 8 by 10. I'm going to start by removing the wrapping. Now that I have that, I am going to take these pliers and I am going to start removing the staples. It was very easy to do with these because they're pointy, so I would say try to find something pointy that is not sharp that you can cut yourself with. Anyway, once you do that, you're gonna have these 2 frames, and as you can see, you can totally see where the staples were removed. So we're gonna glue those 2 sides together, and let me tell you, these frames were only sisters. They were not twins because they were not even. But just make sure that the side you're going to use to stand it's even, that way you're able to stand it. Now I'm gonna take my Waverly chalk paint and I am going to paint the whole frame in this color. And as always, check out my description box for any paint or tools that I use on my videos. Now I'm gonna take this wooden box, and this one came from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to try to find it in their website and I will link it in the description box. But anyway, I'm just gonna take this box and I am going to stain it. And now I'm going to take my frame and 2 little hooks. I will leave the information on these below. And I'm going to take a ruler and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want them to sit. And then these are so simple to do. This wood is really thin, so you're able to screw them on there with just your hands. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I will realize in a second that these are not sitting in the same place, so I go back in there and unscrew it and then screw it back on there, and now they're good to go. But because I did mess up, now I have to go back with paint, and as you can see, the bottom was not painted and it was bothering me, so I fixed that as well. Now I am going to take my little box in this piece of rope, because this is what is going to be helping our little planter be floating. So I figure out how much I need this to be, or how long I need this to be, and then I cut both of my pieces. I create a little knot at the bottom, and then once I have that, I am going to grab my ruler and I am going to find the middle on each side. That way when I glue my little hangers, they are even. And once I figure that out, I am going to add some glue at the end where I created the knot, and then I will reinforce with a lot more of hot glue. And now all that's left is decorate this little box. I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree greenery, and as always, I cut it into smaller pieces or smaller branches, and I added some floral foam into the box. I glue it down, and then I just added all the greenery. Now it's time to test this and see if it's going to stand. Here is the moment of truth, and it did. Whoop whoop, that is success. And here is the end result. I love how these floating planters turn out. For this DIY, I'm using these popsicle sticks and these wooden dowels, and this will be mostly what we will be needing. And I'm gonna take 6 of them first, and I'm gonna trim the ends. I want them to be even because we are trying to create a hexagon as the vase. Okay, here they are, and then I realized they were a little bit too big for what I was going for. So I go back in there, take my ruler, and cut them into 4 inches. And all of them are going to be 4 inches. Once I have all of them, I place them down again into a hexagon, and now it's time to start gluing. Now here's a tip so you don't struggle and I save you some time. Do you remember, if you've seen my video, the bunny that I created with the popsicle sticks? You might want to include, or at least use something like that, or cut out something into a hexagon first and then glue these popsicle sticks, because as you can see, I'm struggling here trying to get this shape going. And I mean, I did, but then if you have a base already into a hexagon, you save so much time. I didn't realize this until I was like halfway on this. But anyway, so now I'm going to take some more popsicle sticks, yes, you guessed it, and I am going to be creating the bottom of this birdcage. Now I am going to be cutting them some longer than others because I'm trying to make it look nice. So you can do all of them the same size. Even if you have the jumbo ones, like the really big ones, it would be so much easier and faster, I feel like. But I don't know, because I didn't use them. But anyway, in my head it does make sense. But anyway, so I'm gonna keep placing them on there. Once I do have enough to cover up the whole hexagon, I'm gonna take a pencil and I am going to start tracing this hexagon on there. And try to be careful because they will move. This is what I'm talking about. If you would have a base already made, this would be happening. All you would have to do is just cut them. But anyway, at the time it seemed like the right thing to do. And now once I have them ready, I'm gonna start by taking my first popsicle stick, cutting it where I marked, and then adding some hot glue. Here is where I realized that I should have done that, because this is what I was talking about. This is why I did the bunny how I did it on that other video, because I didn't want all that glue in there in between each popsicle stick. But I don't know why I didn't thought about it. But anyway, so I am just basically going to be trimming each popsicle stick one by one because I'm not trying to get confused, and then gluing them onto my hexagon here. The last one was a little bit too big, so I had to trim it a little bit more. and then I went in with hot glue and I'm gonna glue it, and you will see in a second that I have to go back in there and fix some mistakes. As you can see here, some of the popsicle sticks were sticking way too much, so I had to go in there and cut them off. And then I just grabbed my sanding block and started sanding that so it can look nice. And then I also sand the inside just to try to get rid of some of that glue in there that it was bothering me. Okay, this is what it looks like. It looks rough at the bottom. I know. It will be fine. Trust me. Trust the process. Now it's time to start gluing the wooden dowels. So you need 6 of these longer wooden dowels. They're 12 inches tall. And I am going to start gluing them into each corner. And I will see you in a second. This is what it's looking like so far. Now I'm gonna take 3 more wooden dowels, and they measure 12 inches. So I'm gonna cut them in half. So now I'm gonna have 6-inch wooden dowels, and I'm gonna be grabbing my sanding sponge, and I'm gonna try to sand the edges where I cut them so they're not so rough. Okay, now I'm gonna start by gluing 2 of them into place, and I added glue to the wooden dowels and then into the where I glued the other 2 together. I hope that makes sense, in the middle. And then I'm gonna hold them on there for a few seconds until it kind of dries so I can let go of them. And this is what they look like. Now I'm gonna start gluing them individually just to make sure that everything is fine and I can have more control. And yeah, this is what it's looking like. It's looking good so far. Now I am going to be taking this little knob that I already had on hand, and honestly I don't remember where it came from, but you could just find something that you want to decorate the top of this birdcage with. Now I'm gonna take some of these bamboo skewers, and I am going to be cutting them as I need them, and that is going to be glue where each of these wooden dowels meet, just to try to cover that up and also try to make it look more like a birdcage. Now once they are completely glued on there, I'm going to be taking my Waverly chalk paint, and I will be using this to paint my whole cage in this color. And we are almost done. How exciting is that? Whoop whoop. Here is a look at how this birdcage is looking, and I am in love with this. Now you can leave it just white, that's totally fine, but I decided to distress mine with my antique wax from Waverly. And let me tell you, I did test it with just white and decorated and everything, and it didn't look as good to me like how it did once I distressed it. I love this. Once I'm done distressing it, I am going to be grabbing some greenery and kind of just styling this little cage. And I love this. This greenery, by the way, came from Walmart. And as always, I cut my pieces individually because sometimes they're too long. So that's just my preference. But anyway, so I'm just filling in the bottom. That little house that you see in the middle, I also DIY'd it. So I will show you right after this DIY how I did that. And here is the end result. I love this birdcage. It's totally one of my favorites. For this DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree house that also happens to light up, and I am going to take my stain and I am going to be staining this house completely. Now I decided to not use the little light, so I just popped it out and I just kept staining it. And once it's completely stained, I am going to grab this little pillar I found at the Dollar Tree, and I really like how it looks. It looks really high-end. Now it's just a matter of gluing this house onto this pillar, and as you saw, I added added a little jute rope bow and then just style it. I just added some greenery and I love how this little house turned out. For this DIY, I'm using this Dollar Tree bucket I found, and honestly, how cute is this bucket? I love how cute this is. But I decided to paint mine white. Now you can leave yours how it is, or you can paint it a different color, but I went for white for mine because why not? And then once it's completely painted, now it's time to move on. I'm gonna grab some floral foam, and as you will see, I am kind of struggling on how to glue this. I wasn't sure how I wanted to glue this, but then I figured it out. Don't worry. Now the next step is to grab a branch, and this one I picked it up from my front yard, so it was free. Whoop whoop. And then I am going to be using these cute pink flowers I already had on hand. They came from the Dollar Tree. I just took them off the little branch, and as you can see, some of them are smaller than others, so I went for the little bigger ones first, and then I just added the smaller ones randomly on this little tree. This is what this tree is looking like. Doesn't this look like apple blossom? I think it does. Now you can leave it how it is, or you can add these cute little eggs I found. I decided to go in with them because I wanted it to have a hint to Easter as well, and I thought it was a really cool idea. So I took these eggs and took them off the skewers, and they already had a little hole from where the skewer was sitting. So I just took some jute rope and created little knots and start pushing them onto the little already made holes, and I glued them on there, and then I just figured out exactly where they were gonna go and started cutting them, and then I just added some glue to the branch and started gluing my little rope on there. Now I do end up adding the little bows on there as well. The little tails were a little too long, so I do trim them too. And yeah, so this is what it's looking like so far. I apologize because these specific DIY was not showing everything I wanted to show. My camera moved and I didn't realize it. I promise you I'm trying my best, and I will continue to try my best. And now all that's left is just to add some Spanish moss into this little bucket to cover that up. And I also end up distressing the bucket a little bit off camera. And here is a look at how this really cool spring Easter tree turned out. I love this little tree, but I have to say my favorite was the birdcage. I just think that project turned out amazing. You let me know in the comments down below which one is your favorite DIY. Here are some of the items I am going to be using, and I am going to start by taking my 4 planks and my stain. The color will be in my description box, and I am going to be staining these front and most of the back, and then I am going to take a popsicle stick and kind of help push this piece of fabric in between each of these wooden pieces. That way I can get in there and everything is all one color. Once they are dried, it's time to spell my word, I guess. And basically, you've seen me done this before. I just take not the actual sticker, but the part that holds the sticker, I guess, and I use that as stencils. And I am going to be using my black chalk paint from Waverly, and I am going to be covering this whole letter in this color. Once everything is painted, I'll remove it, and then as you can see here, the little tiny sticker was giving me problems, and I had to go in there and kind of clean it up to make it look nice again. Okay, for this, I am going to be spelling the word home, and for the other 2 letters, I did them off camera, but for the letter O, I wanted to use this rub-on stickers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I was actually really excited to find them because I've been looking for them for a while. But basically, I took the one that looks like a wreath, and then I took a popsicle stick, and I just started rubbing it on there. Let me tell you, this is a workout. And as you can see, this one was not perfect, but don't worry because I'll fix it in a little bit. So basically, where there is this separation between the little wooden pieces, I kind of pushed that down, and then I went back in there and fill in the spots that the sticker didn't get on it, and it was looking good. Here is what it looked like, and I am loving it so far. Okay, so I am going to start gluing my 4 wooden planks together, and yeah, it's just gonna be hot glue and putting them together, so I'm gonna let you watch. To finish up this project, all it needs is a hanger. For mine, I decided to do some jute rope, so I just cut it to the size I needed it, and then I hot glue it to the back, and we are technically done. How easy and beautiful is this? Here is the end result. I'm in love of how this sign turned out. Let me know what you think. For this DIY, I am going to take one of these Dollar Tree wreaths and I am going to be grabbing my Waverly chalk white paint and painting it. And as you can see, it's not perfectly painted. I wanted it to look a little distressed, so that's why I left it like that. But you're more than welcome to cover it completely in white. And now I am going to be using this styrofoam little eggs that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I am putting some skewers on them because I am going to be painting them white, and this is easier to do when you have somewhere to hold them from. And then after I am done painting them, I am going to start putting them in this floral foam, that way they dry. Once they are dried, I grabbed a little bit of water and I added some chalk black paint. And I'm sorry because I thought I was recording and I didn't until I was almost done. So basically, I just did little splashes of paint on them. Once everything is dried, or so I thought, you'll see later, but I took everything that I was going to use for my wreath, and these flowers came from Walmart, and they were $1, which I thought it was a good deal. They are very pretty. And I start by gluing the first one. I am only going to be using 3 of them, as you can see, and I am going to be placing them where I want them to go. Once they are glued, I took some of these cottons that I already had on hand, and I grabbed 4 of them, and I glue 2 in between each of these flowers. And once I am done gluing those into place, it is the time to start gluing the little eggies into place. And this is why I said, and so I thought, because I thought these eggs were dried, and you will see that my fingers end up with paint all over them, which thank the crafting gods that I didn't make a mess on these flowers. But anyway, so I'm just gonna glue them on there and I'm just gonna let you watch. And now it's time to make a bow. So I take 2 pieces of ribbon. This one is from the Dollar Tree. I find the middle and then I glue the 2 ends to the middle. I flip it over and then I basically fold them up. And then I fold the 2 edges down. I hope that makes sense. And then there you have that first one. And then I do the exact same thing to the second one. Once I have them, I just kind of glue what was getting unglued. And then I glue them together. Once they are glued together, I grabbed an extra piece and I kind of just fold it so it wouldn't be so wide. And then I basically trim the back just so it's not too long. And then I start gluing my 2 pieces together and there is the bow. Now all I do is just fluff it up and that's that. Now, I found this welcome wire sign at the Dollar Tree and I thought it was so pretty and so good for this. So I take a piece of this rope and as you can see, I am going to be running it through to hold this. I don't want it to be stable. I kind of wanted it to be able to move. So that's why I did it like that. Now I take it and then I am going to be placing it exactly where I wanted it. And then I am going to be gluing it and removing whatever rope I don't need. And then once it's glued, this is what it's looking like. Now it's time to glue our bow into place. And how pretty is this? Now all that's left is to do a hanger and you can do whatever you want. I did some rope the exact same way I wrapped it on the little wire sign. And we are done. Here is the end result. I am in love of how this wreath turned out. It's my favorite DIY in this video. For this DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree basket. And for me, this was too big. So this is why I did this. I am going to be taking my scissors and cutting this smaller. Yes, so I cut the first piece. Once I have my first piece, as you can see, I go in and cut off the second piece. Now, again, you can leave it how it is, but this is just my preference and I thought I would share what I did with this. And I think it turns out really pretty. And once I remove what I don't need, I am going to be gluing these 2 pieces together. And I'm going to be using some hot glue. So I just add hot glue and start gluing these 2 pieces together. And now I am going to be doing the exact same thing on the other side and just making sure everything's glued. Now, as you can see where the 2 ends meet, they're kind of weird. So I kind of trim them off just to make sure that they meet and they're not separated. That way it looks like it's just one basket. Once that is done, I take my Waverly white chalk paint and I am going to paint my basket in this color. Okay, now I take this word that spells spring. I removed it from one of the Dollar Tree signs. I can't remember which one it was, but I had it and I thought it was the perfect time to use it. So I just grabbed it and used my Waverly chalk black paint. You could use some stickers from the Dollar Tree, or if you have pretty writing, you could do your own writing. Once these two pieces are dried, I'm going to take some hot glue and I am going to glue this word into this basket, and I try to glue it in the middle. Once that is done, I took some greenery I already had on hand. I think this is eucalyptus. It came from Walmart. I know that. And I had it since like last year. So I fill in the basket with that, and then I took some Dollar Tree flowers and some Walmart flowers and I just fill it in. It's so easy and simple. And here is the end result. I love how this basket turned out. Let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite DIY. For this DIY, I'm going to use this Dollar Tree sign in the square shape. Now, these are two canvases that I glued together and I used for a past project. And these are just scraps of wood that I am going to be using. I am going to start with the thicker pieces. These are going to be my legs. So I am going to be cutting them in half. That way I can have 4 legs. And I'm also going to be taking this other wooden piece. It's actually siding. If you see my videos, I'm pretty sure you already saw me use that. I had this little piece left over and that's what I wanted to use for this chair. So I took it and I marked exactly where I need to cut, and then I just traced a line. That way when I take them outside to cut them with a hacksaw, the line is there and it guides me. Here are all my pieces cut off. Now this frame, I was gonna leave it how it is, but then I changed my mind and I decided to cut the top off. Now the leftover pieces that I cut off, you could use those to put them in the middle instead of the siding. That would be a good idea, but I still decided to go with the siding just because, I don't know, I like them better. But I'm gonna take my glue gun now and I'm going to start gluing my 2 little sticks in there, and I'm just gonna hold them there. They held pretty good, but if you want to use a strong adhesive, you could do it and you would probably be safe using a strong adhesive. I left it with just hot glue and this is what it's looking like. Now I am going to be taking the little sign that I bought from Dollar Tree. I'm removing that little sign that it had because it was a little sticking up and I didn't like that, so I removed it. But anyway, now I'm going to start gluing the legs onto this, and I use the same hot glue that I always use. You could use a strong adhesive if you want to have a peace of mind, but mine held up pretty good. Here is what it's looking like. Now it's time to glue the back of this chair. Now here you could glue it how I'm gonna do it on the back, or you can glue it on the top. I feel like it would have looked nicer on the top just because it's kind of floating, as you can see, but I still love it, but that is just an option. To paint my chair, I'm going to be using my acrylic white matte paint, and I'm going to be painting this whole thing. Now for the actual seat, I will do a couple of layers just because it had that sign and is in the color black and it kind of shows through with just 1 layer. So I will do 2 layers of paint on there. Once the paint has dried, I'm going to be taking my antique wax from Waverly and I am going to be distressing my little chair. Now here, you could skip it or you could do something else. I decided to distress it. I really love how it turns out. And yeah, I just had fun doing this. And now here is the end result. Here is how I styled my little chair and I am in love with it. Take 4 bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree, as well as 2 pieces of scrap wood that are a little bigger than the cutting boards. Now you could use Dollar Tree signs for this because we are going to paint them anyway, but it will be up to you, or you can make all the boxes the exact same size. That will be up to you. Once I have my pieces there, I'm gonna take my first cutting board and I am going to basically find the middle and trace that, because we are going to take 2 of these, actually 2 cutting boards, and we are going to be cutting those in the middle. Now that I have them, I took my outside and use my hacksaw to trim them, and then I'm just sanding them to help the edges stay a little smoother. Now I am going to take my first bamboo cutting board and my 2 halves, and I am going to use some hot glue and some E6000 glue because we need something strong to hold them. I tried just hot glue and it was a fail, so I end up having to get a stronger adhesive to be able to hold these pieces in place. Now I'm gonna take this other piece. Ignore that it's cut in half. It should be the full-on bamboo cutting board, and just trace it to the size that you need it. And then I took it outside as well and I cut it with my hacksaw. Now I took some Jenga blocks and some hot glue and some E6000 glue to help these pieces stay in place and make sure they're going to be secured. Now this should be the full-on cutting board. Ignore that it's cut in half. It was my mistake. I do end up gluing this together later, but basically this is going to be the back. So you need one from the front, one for the back, and one for the two sides. And I'm also going to be using some Jenga blocks to secure that piece into place. And once I have that, I am going to move on to the bigger piece. Now here are my cutting boards are a little bit too big, so I marked them and I'm gonna take them outside and trim them. Once I trim them, I'm gonna do the exact same thing I did with the other bamboo cutting boards, where I glued my pieces with hot glue and E6000 glue. And I will use some Jenga blocks as well and secure these pieces into place. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. And as you can see, I am not gluing the sides right on the edge. I left a little bit of space just because that's the look I wanted to go for, but that will be up to you. Now I am going to take my smaller piece of wood that will be the back of this box, and I will be adding some hot glue and E6000, and I am going to be gluing that into place. And yeah, that is all I'm going to do for now. And now I am going to take my acrylic matte white paint and I will be painting these boxes. Now I'm gonna take some foam board. Excuse that it's dirty. That's the only foam board I had. And I took a pencil and traced the bottom of my box. And once I have it traced, I'll take my crafting knife and I will be cutting off the shape that I traced. Now you could use a piece of wood. You could use some popsicle sticks. You could use a Dollar Tree sign. I just went with the foam board because that's all I had. But anyway, so as you can see now, it fits perfect. Now I'm gonna push it in there, make sure everything is nice, and I am going to flip it over and I am going to add some hot glue to glue this to the box, and it works really good. Now that I am done, here you have the box. Now it's dirty on the inside, but we're not gonna see it. Now I am going to take some Dollar Tree stickers and I am going to be spelling farm on the smaller box and then house on the bigger box. Now don't mind the top box, the bottom was not nicely done, but then I went back in there with some paint and covered that up, so it was nice. But anyway, so I'm just placing my letters where I need them to go, and before I push them all the way down or stick them all the way down, I'll just make sure that they are all aligned. And now that that is done, it's time to move on to the next step. I had these two wired hangers that I will be using for hangers for my boxes, and basically I just bend them back and forth and until I removed that piece off that I didn't need. Now I am going to take my ruler and find the middle of my box. I will add some hot glue to the wire and I will glue it down. Now of course that's not gonna hold it into place, so I took my hand stapler. I don't know what that is called. Is that what it's called? It's a stapler, but it's like a grown-up stapler, I guess. And then I took some of this canvas sheets that I removed from one of my projects, and I just glued that to the back. That way when I hang it, it's not gonna scratch my wall. And then I just took some floral foam and glue it to the bottom of this box. And once I had it glued down, I took some of this Spanish moss to fill it in and cover up those foams. And I took this greenery that I picked up from Walmart. It was like $1, and I just shove it in there, and I really like how this is looking. For the smaller box, I decided to go with this Dollar Tree greenery. I am not sure what it's called. I did not look at the tag, but it has the little white balls. And I thought it was perfect because this one was going to have some cotton in it and I wanted to fill it up a little bit more. So I added my 2 stems of cotton and then I kept adding the little greenery from Dollar Tree. And here is the end result. I love how these boxes turned out. They're one of my favorite. Let me know what you think. For my next DIY, I'm taking one of these Dollar Tree trays. I think that's what they're called. But anyway, I am going to take my acrylic white paint and I am going to be painting all the 4 sides on these. I'm not painting the middle because these popsicle sticks are going to do that job. I'm going to take these jumbo popsicle sticks and I am going to cut them to the size I need them to cover up the bottom of this tray. You can use any popsicle sticks. I just decided to go with these ones because they're bigger and I'm gonna need less, but any popsicle stick will do the job. Once I figure out how big they need to be, I'll take that one as the example, I guess, and I'll start cutting all the popsicle sticks. Now that I have all my pieces ready to go, I am going to take my wood stain and I will be staining all of these popsicle sticks with it. I'll stain the front and back. You don't have to stain the back because it will be glued down. I just decided to do it. But anyway, now I am going to take my popsicle sticks once they dried and I am going to start gluing them to the bottom. Once I got to the end, my popsicle stick was a little bit too big, so I had to cut it down. I just kept cutting until it was to the size I needed it, and then I finally took some hot glue and glue my last piece. For this sign, I decided I wanted it to say hello spring. So for the word hello, I took some vinyl in my best friend's Cricut machine, and I cut the word hello. For the word spring, you could use some stickers, or you could, if you have a Cricut machine, you could cut the words. I just decided to use the word spring that I already had. It came from one of the Dollar Tree signs. I actually used it on one of my past videos. I just repainted it in the color pink. Now I am going to take my Waverly antique wax and I am going to be distressing the sides just because I really like that look. You could leave it just white if you wanted to, but I am going to be distressing mine. Now, to further decorate this sign, I decided to take some of these flowers that came from Walmart. It was actually $1, and these little greenery pieces that came from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to be gluing each flower on the opposite corner and the greenery right below it. And now to make this sign stand, I took this picture holder, I think that's what they're called, and here is the end result. I love how cute and springy this sign turned out. For this DIY, I'm taking this adorable bowl I picked up from the Dollar Tree. Now, I am going to start by grabbing some baking soda, white paint, and a little bit of black paint to create a darker gray color. Once I have my mixture thick enough, I am going to start by stamping it onto the words because they are engraved and I don't want them to show through. I want to make sure that everything is covered up so it doesn't look like they're there. So I'm going to take this Dollar Tree brush, sponge brush, and I'm going to push that paint baking soda mixture into the words first. Once I have them covered up, I will continue to paint with the smaller brush, and I'm just doing stamping motions, and I'm gonna flip it over so it's easier for me to control. Fun fact about this project, I really loved this little bowl when I saw it at the Dollar Tree, but I didn't pick it up because I wasn't sure if I was going to use it. So I was paying, and then I got the idea to create a candle. So I left my basket in line and I went and grabbed this little bowl, and I'm happy that I did it because I really love how this project turned out. Anyway, back to the project. So I grabbed some more white paint and the tiniest bit of black paint to create a lighter gray color. I did not add baking soda to this one. I grabbed a piece of a dish sponge from the Dollar Tree and I started stamping it with that. I feel like it gives it the dimension that I'm trying to go for this bowl, and then I make sure that I also painted the rim of this. Now I took a paper towel to wipe the paint that got inside just so it looks clean. Now that I have that, I took my sterling silver acrylic paint and another piece of the dish sponge and I started stamping it on there. I am just going to do where I think it needs it, and I'm just gonna keep stamping. Just have fun and just stop whenever you think it's enough. That is just what I did with mine, and I think it turned out amazing. Now, I took one of these glass candles that the Dollar Tree sells. They're the bigger ones, and I put it in this pot with water and boiled it until it finally melted. And once I have that, I am going to pour it into my bowl and just make sure that you're holding the candle wick. That way it doesn't like slide down. Now that I probably needed two of them, but I ended up using this one, and I used another of the medium-sized pillars that had scent, and that way my candle was going to be scented. Now I took some brown chalk paint and I kind of added it onto my little bowl to make it look like it was rusted. And then finally, when it was dried, when my candle was dried, I removed the little stick and I cut down my candle wick. And here is the end result. I love how this candle turned out. DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree sign, this canvas, these Jenga blocks, some scraps of wood, the star of the show, this faucet, some white and black paint or a marker, and I am going to start by grabbing my sign and removing the hanger, and then I will proceed to grab my spackling and fill in the little holes because I don't want to see them. Once I have them ready to go, I sand it down just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Now I'm going to take my acrylic white paint and I am going to be painting this sign. I don't think I showed this in the video, but eventually I end up painting the back as well. While that dries, I'm going to take my canvas and I am only going to be using the frame off of this. So I am removing this sheet and I am using this rolling tool that I picked up from the Dollar Tree that works pretty good. Okay, usually removing the staples is not a problem at all, but these ones were very hard to remove, so I end up just leaving that alone. Okay, now I'm moving on to grabbing my scraps of wood. Here, you can use another canvas, which I didn't have, or you can use all Jenga blocks. I used these two scraps of wood that came from actually a canvas that I had used in the past, and then I just fill in the sides with some Jenga blocks, and as you can see, I had to cut them down to fit that little space. Once that was done and glued into place, I took this other flat canvas that I found in my stash and I am going to be gluing that to the bottom so I can have basically a bottom for this box. And you can use anything you like, some cardboard or even some Jenga blocks if you like. I just wanted to use this because that's all I had. Now I fill in the little spaces on the sides with some hot glue and there we have it. Now I am also going to be painting this in white, so I'm grabbing my acrylic white paint and painting this whole box in this color. Now I'm going back to the sign and I am going to be creating some shiplap. So I am dividing this sign into 4 and I will be taking this wooden piece to create the lines because this was long enough. And so yeah, I did that. And then I went and grabbed the ruler. I don't know why I didn't use the same wood piece. But anyway, I used that and then this marker, which I don't end up loving because it ends up looking like grayish bluish and I don't love it, so I go back in there with some black paint and I go over the lines and I like it way better. Now it's time to take my little box and I decided to distress it. Now I do feel like I went a little bit overboard, so I do go back in there with a sanding sponge. And I also know that distressing is not for everybody, but I kind of wanted to do a contrast between this box and the back of this piece, so that's why I decided to do that. But I do feel like I went overboard, so like I said, I went back with a sanding sponge and kind of sand it down, and then I also grabbed a little bit of white paint until I had it how I wanted it. And now it's time to move on to the start of this show, and it's this old faucet. Yes, it is. Okay, so here's the story. I've been wanting to recreate this for a very long time. I had seen this idea on Pinterest, and I don't know why, I just love this so much, and I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I've been meaning to pick up a faucet from the store, but I kept forgetting. So one day my husband came in and he was like, "Look what I got you." And I was like, oh my gosh. So I was so excited that I was able to do this now. And so I took that sign, created a circle on it. Then I took it outside, grabbed my drill, drilled the hole, and then I went in there with a sanding sheet, just back and forth a few times. But I until the hole was big enough. A oval, so I kind of fill in with some hot glue, and then it was ready to go. Okay, now I am going to grab my little box and glue it to my piece, and I just use hot glue for that. And now that is done, now I am going to be styling this with this Dollar Tree bucket that I picked up, and I was so excited when I saw it because it's so cute. I glued some floral foam, and then I just added some greenery inside, and I just love how this turned out. It's one of my favorite in this video. But now that that is done, here is the end result. And how cute is this piece? Am I the only one that loves this? Let me know in the comments down below what you think. For my next DIY, I'm taking 2 of these cute little lanterns from the Dollar Tree, this wooden dowel, this smaller wooden dowel that came from Dollar Tree, and this scrap of wood. Now, I'm starting with my scrap of wood, and it has some paint on it, so I'm just going to sand it down so it's smooth when I go to paint it. Now, I'm taking my thicker wooden dowel, and I'm trying to figure out how long I want this to be, or I guess how tall I want this to be. Once I figure it out, I'll take a pencil and I'll trace it on the wooden dowel, and I will take it outside and cut this down with a hacksaw. Once that is done, I am going to come back inside, and I am going to figure out exactly where I need to be drilling the holes to sit these wooden dowels. So I'm taking my ruler and I'm trying to do the best as I can. And let me tell you, they are not going to be straight. That's just the reality because I'm not perfect. But anyway, as you can see, I moved to the edge of the table because I had better control. And then I took a wooden dowel, make sure it fit. And now I have both of them ready to go. Now I'll take my skinnier wooden dowel and measured it, cut it, and then I will create a hole in these thicker wooden dowels so the skinnier one can fit in there. Now that that is done, it's time to put everything together. So I'm going to start with the thicker wooden dowels, and I will glue them with some hot glue on both sides. Now I'll take the skinnier one and I will glue that in place as well. And that is that. And now it's time to move on to painting, and I'm taking my acrylic white paint and I will paint this whole thing in white. And now I'm taking my little lanterns, removing the tags, and then I'm also removing the little rings off of these. They're like keychain rings. I'm not sure what these were for, but I'm gonna remove them. And I found this super cute ribbon that has lemons on it, and I thought it was perfect. Now I cut it and I burned the end. That way I can run it through the little hole. Otherwise, I thought it was gonna be hard, but it worked for me. So there's that. Now, once I figure out how long I need this ribbon to be, I'll cut it and I'll cut both pieces and run them through the little lantern. And now it's time to put all the pieces together. So I'll take my first little lantern and create a couple of knots, and then I'll create a little bow. And I would say tie it how you would tie your shoes. That's the best I can do to explain it. Once that little bow is so cute, I'll take my scissors and dovetail the ends, and then I will take my lighter to burn the edges again, and that way they don't come unravel. And here is a picture of the end result. I love how cute these little lanterns turned out, and I love the pop of color. For my next DIY, I took these 2 Dollar Tree signs, and I will remove the hangers off of these because to me they look like books, and that is exactly what I'm going for. Now I'll take my acrylic white paint and I will give these signs a couple of coats of this. That way everything is covered up. Now that they are dried, I'm going to be taking them and I'm going to personalize them. So here I cut some words with my best friend's Cricut machine, but the Dollar Tree does sell stickers and some what are they called, the rub-on stickers, which work really good. For mine, I'm going to be stacking these, and I want one to say love and the other one lives here. And to give it a little bit of color, I am going to be using the exact same lemon ribbon I picked up from Dollar Tree, which is super cute, and I wish I would have picked up more because I basically used all of it in these DIYs. But anyway, that's side note. Okay, so once I glue these together, this is what they look like, and I love them. Now I decided to add a little bow on top, and it's a very simple bow. I wish I had a thicker ribbon, but I didn't, so that's what I'm going to be using, just the same ribbon, and create a little bow. And I tie it how I would tie my shoes basically again, and then I'll glue it into place. I'll dovetail the ends, and this completes the project. Now here is the end result. I love how these fall books turned out. Let me know what you think. For my next DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree sign, and I'm going to paint both sides in the color white. Now I'm repurposing this one from a past project, so that's why this one is already painted, but I'm going back in there and just making sure everything is nice and white. Now that that is done, I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to be creating some shiplap. So I'll take this marker. I originally started using this marker, which I do finish marking with this, but the marker did not want to do it in this paint. So I end up going back in there with some black paint and a brush. Now the lines are not perfect anymore, but that did not bother me. If it bothers you, then just use a marker. Now I decided that I also wanted some vertical lines and make it look more like shiplap. So I went in with some black paint and started creating some lines. And again, these are not going to be perfectly made, but that's what I decided to do. Now I do mess up a little bit and I have to go back in there with some white paint to kind of fix that, but this is what it's looking like so far. Now for my sign, I decided I wanted this to say "This is us," so I printed some words with my best friend's Cricut machine, and then I just stick them onto this sign. Now you could use Dollar Tree stickers again, or if you have pretty writing, then you can write it yourself. I don't, which is why I need some letters printed for me. Okay, now I'm going to take this ribbon that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and it's burlap ribbon, and I really like it. And I'm going to create a simple bow, and I'm going to also be taking this lemon ribbon that I love so much, and I'm going to be creating another little bow. Now you can leave it here, but I decided to add this other burlap ribbon that has some hint of white, like a zigzag, and I cut 3 pieces and kind of stacked them together, and I glued those 3 pieces together, and after that I glue them onto the bigger bow, and then I'll glue the lemon bow right on top, and that is basically almost done. Now I'll take another strip of the burlap ribbon and I'll glue that into the middle to glue everything together, and now I'm just going to dovetail the ends, and you know the drill, just burn the edges, and that completes that. Now it's time to glue this bow into place, and that completes this cute little sign. I love how this turned out. And here is the end result. I love how all these DIYs turned out. For first project, I'm using this wire wreath that says welcome, as well as this candle holder. I'm also going to use a little bit of floral foam and also some greenery. I am just going to grab what I have on hand, and here's a whole bunch. I'm also using some spray paint. Okay, because I'm gonna have to let these dry for a while, I'm going to start with these. I'm going to spray paint my wire welcome sign wreath, and I'm also going to spray paint the candle holder. I'm going to give it a couple of coats just to make sure everything's covered up, and then we'll put it to the side to let it dry. Okay, once everything is dry, here is what it's looking like. I'm going to take a piece of this floral foam. I'm going to cut it to make sure it fits into this candle holder. Once it's inside, you know, I go back in it, I cut it a little bit more. Now I thought that I could just stick this on here and call it a day. No, it's not going to hold. It's wobbly, so I kind of struggle here, but all I did was add a whole bunch of hot glue, and I just let it dry for a little bit and then add some more. And then I was like, this is still not working. It was still not strong enough. So I had these what are they called, like wooden dowels I cut from the past project. If you watch the video, you know what I'm talking about. So I took those, two of them, and I stuck them on there and added a whole more bunch of hot glue, held this wire wreath until it dried, and look at it. Now it's actually working because the wooden dowels are going to help it stay in place. Okay, now that everything's dry and sturdy, I'm going to start adding some greenery. I am just going to add it to where we put the floral foam, and I'm going to go around, cover the front and back, just adding as much as I think I need to cover up that floral foam. And yeah, that's all what I'm going to do right now. So here is what it's looking like once it's a little bit more full. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't talk today. I'm so sorry. I'm also trimming the wire part just to make sure that it's not too long. Okay, now that all the greenery I want there, it's there, I'm going in with these little flowers. They're like a really light pink color. I really love them. I added a few of them just to the front because that's the only part I'm going to see. And yeah, that's all I did for the front. Once I was happy with it, I move on to the next step. Okay, next, I wanted to cover up that hanger that it's at the very top because it was bothering me. So I am going to be creating a small bow, and this part will be optional to you if you decide to recreate it, which if you do, you should follow me on Instagram so you can tag me in it and I can share it on my Instagram. But anyway, so I just create a little bow. I showed in my last video exactly what I do, so I'm going a little faster here. But once I did it, I had this trim that I picked up from Dollar Tree. It came with 3 different trims, and the other 2 had been used. This one is not, so that's what I'm gonna use to cover up the middle. And once I had it glued there, I kind of played around and try to see where I want this bow to be. Once I was happy, I just wrapped around this trim, and then I'm going to be hot gluing it into place, as you can see. And that is all for this project. Now let's look at the end result. And here it is. I absolutely love how this project turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For this project, I'm going to be using this cone-shaped floral foam. I showed you this bucket, but I won't be using it, but it is an option. Now, I'm going to be using this greenery. This one's from Walmart from last year. It's like 2 bunches of it. I'm going to be using some white and black paint. And like I said, I will be using this vase instead of the bucket because I ended up switching my mind. Okay, so I did it off camera because I didn't know if I was gonna use it, but I spray painted this vase in the color black. I just felt like this was something more of what I was envisioning, so I decided to do that, and I was very happy with the end result. Okay, so as you can see, I mixed some white paint with some of the what is that called, baking soda, and it's so I can give it a little bit more of a chalk feel to it. And I am going to be painting a line at the bottom. I just winged it. This brush is from Dollar Tree. It's very sturdy, and it was actually, I did a pretty good job. I did a very straight line, kinda. You won't be able to notice it. There's small little parts where I kind of mess up, but it did not turn as bad as I thought it would be. I was a little scared when I started, but then I was like, you know what, this is not looking as bad. So here it is completed. Okay, next step, I decided to spray paint this cone just because I know Dollar Tree does sell the green cones. I just didn't find any, so I decided to cover up because with spray paint, because I'm going to be adding this greenery on it, and I didn't want to see the white under. I felt like if I left it like that, it was definitely going to show up, so I decided to go for that. As you can see, I am gluing the greenery in there. I cut it in individual pieces, and I just started gluing it to try to cover up everything. Here is what I got so far. Now I'm just, as you can see, I'm just using some hot glue to do that. I'm going to finish covering this up, and like I said, I want to say that these were 2 bunches. They were just cut individually like you're seeing right now. Okay, so when I got to the bottom, I wanted to cover it up And so I cut smaller pieces and I started gluing them around the edge of this cone. And it takes a lot of patience, but I absolutely love the end result. I would say just be careful because you know it's hot glue and you know it's going to be hot. Okay, here is what it's looking like. I'm just adding a few more to where I felt it was bald. Okay, next step, I just wanted to show you this because this is what I did. Okay, so I needed something to help erase the tree so it wouldn't sink down. So I created with items that I just randomly picked. I picked this ball and it came in a pack of like 3 or 4 from Dollar Tree, and then I had this empty roll and I just felt that it was going to be perfect for this to help the tree stand up. And I just glued those two random items together, and now I'm gonna sit them inside the vase. And now I am going to be gluing the tree onto this empty roll, and it's flat and it's perfect, so it worked for me. I just, you know, show you as an idea. You do what you think is best for you, but that basically completes this project. It was really easy and I think it turned out amazing. Now let's look at the end result. And here it is. I think this is super cute. Absolutely love it. Let me know what you think. For this project, I am going to be using this beautiful sign I found at Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using a wooden crate. Mine has seen better days. It's been used, but we're gonna move on. And now I'm also going to be using some black, some brown paint, and as well as some greenery. Okay, I'm going to start with my little box. I'm going to paint this completely in the color black. I'm using the chalk paint from Dollar Tree, so I'll give it a very good coat of paint, all 4 sides, a little bit of the inside, and we're gonna move on. Next step, I'm going to be using this really light brown / beige color paint. This one I picked it up from Hobby Lobby a long time ago. I picked this one because it's the closest to the color that the sign has. So I'm going to be painting it or painting the indentions, or what would they be called, creases or whatever they're called, to define this crate. And then I will grab a different brush and I'm going to be distressing it with the same color paint. I will make sure that I cover this box completely, and I'm going to also be doing a little bit on the inside just because I want everything to look nice. And then I will be adding greenery inside, but I want to make sure that if there's anything peeking out, it will all be cohesive. Okay, so once the paint was dried, I was like, let me distress it a little bit more because I feel like I went a little bit heavy on the brown and it was not working. So what I decided to do was grab some more black paint and kind of just go back in there with some black paint. And I love this a lot more. I think it looks, a lot more closer to the color and the style this sign has. See how cute it is? I love it. Now I'm gonna let it dry. Once my cute box was completely dried, I decided to grab some twine rope and I'm going to be tying it around where the handles are. I gave it a few, I wrapped it around a few times, and once I was happy, I decided to glue it down. As you can see, I'm going back in there a couple of times, and once I thought it was enough, it was time for some hot glue. And I guess I also trimmed down what I didn't need. Once it was dried, I move on to the other end, and here it is what I got. Now I'm gonna do the other side off camera. Now it's time to move to the sign. What I'm going to do is remove the hanger, and it's stapled on there, so I remove the staples. Then I go in with my setting sponge just to make sure everything's smooth. Now this part is optional. I decided to take off the wreath that this came with. I didn't like the color on that greenery, so I'm going to be adding my own. So I just took this green thing I had from a bouquet of the dry flowers that Dollar Tree sells, and I grabbed it because it was green. Now I had this random greenery that is also from Dollar Tree, and I had it like this for a while because I've used it in many projects, and I decided to use that to create the new wreath. I just felt like I love these leaves better, and I just wanted a wreath that was going to be more full. So I just started gluing them around this thing. Now that I have my wreath, I'm going to be gluing it into place, and look how much better this looks. At least to me, I absolutely love this wreath now. Once it's glued down, it's time to move to the next step. Okay, now it's fun time. We're gonna put all of this together. Now I'm going to be gluing my sign onto my box. I'm going to be using some hot glue, and I want to be able to see the whole word that spells home. So I'm gluing the tiniest bit edge of this sign. Now all I'm going to do is add some floral foam and then have fun. I'm going to be using some greenery to stuff it in, but you can use this box for many things. Like you can throw your keys in there, you can fill it up with candy, you could do so many things with it. I decided to go with greenery, but the options are endless. And now here it is, the end result. I absolutely love how this project turned out. I know I said this about a lot of my projects, but this one is definitely one of my favorites. For this project, I'm using this metal truck from Dollar Tree as well as this canvas. It's been used, I know. And I'm also using this wooden planks, some twine rope, some tumbling blocks, and some more greenery. Okay, I'm going to start by removing the sheet on this canvas. I don't know what they're called. I need to find out. Let me know if you know what they're called. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this off with this roller knife. And I remove this completely, and then I peel the back as well. Now, as you can see, it has some staples left in there. And so I'm taking the skinny pliers and I'm going to be removing all the staples from the back. It was not hard, but it definitely takes some patience. You could leave them there, but I wanted to remove them, so you do you. Okay, now that all the staples are off, I'm going to take my sanding block and sand this down. I forgot to mention this. I'm also using some black spray paint. I'm going with this because it's going to be a little bit more shiny, and that's what I was going for. But if you have any other black paint, go ahead and use it. Also, don't forget to spray paint 2 of your tumbling blocks. Okay, now I'm going to take this wooden plank, and where I'm pointing right now, I'm going to be cutting it. I won't be showing you this part, but you will see once I cut it. Okay, now I'm going to take my little truck and I'm removing the hanger off of this. Once that is done, I am bringing the back of my truck now. So I cut it down because this is going to be the back of this truck. Okay, so I originally was going to leave it this color, but then I was like, I don't really like that natural wood color. So I went in with my antique wax from Waverly, and I liked it a lot more this way. I'm not going to be painting the back because 1, I'm not going to see it. And then 2, once you add wax, it's really hard to make glue stick to anything. And that's something I've experienced. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I'm just not going to risk it. Once that is completely painted, I am going to move on to grabbing a Sharpie. This part is optional. I just wanted to see the lights and some of the little details on this truck. Dollar Tree does sell one that it has already the black marks on there, but it was flat and I didn't like it. I like this one more. That's why I'm doing this extra step. Okay, time to glue our fence to the back of the truck. But before that, I'm adding some greenery. Now that everything's glued there, I am going to add some hot glue to the thicker portion of this fence, and I'm going to hot glue it down. Just held it in there until it's actually glued. And now it's time to put all these pieces together. What I'm gonna do is place this truck to try to figure out where exactly I need it to sit. I want this kind of floating in the air, so I'm taking some twine rope and I'm going to be creating a thick knot on one of the ends. And once that is done, I'm going to run it through the little holes that were already there. And now all I'm going to do is wrap around the extra twine rope, and I'm just gonna give it like 3 wraps around, and then I will hot glue it. And that is all I do for this part. Now once that is done, I will do the other side off camera. And now all that's left is to glue our tumbling blocks to the bottom so we can make this frame stand. As you can see, I completely forgot about them. So do as I say, not as I do. I had to go back in there and paint them to make sure it matched the whole project. And now here it is, the end result. I absolutely love all of these projects. Definitely had my favorites. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite project.
For this project, I'm using this family sign, these metal
metal welcome word, as well as these cute butterflies, some scrapbook paper, and I'm also going to use these rub-on stickers from Dollar Tree. All of this is from Dollar Tree, by the way, and some paint. You pick your colors. I'm going to be using some black paint and some white paint. Okay, I'm going to start with the frame, and as you can see, this was already removed. I did use this in a past project, but I wanted to show how the frame came. I'm going to start by removing the framing on this, and we're gonna leave the back by itself. I'm removing the frame, and we are also going to be removing the staples off of this because this is going to be glued back into place. And yeah, we're gonna remove the staples. Okay, now I'm going to take this scrapbook paper. This one is actually not from Dollar Tree. It's actually from Hobby Lobby, and you can buy or just use any paper you like. This is what I have and I loved it, so I'm going to use it, and I'm going to hot glue it. Feel free to use some Mod Podge. Okay, now as usual, I'm going to take my sanding block to cut a perfect edge, and you just rub it on there until it removes what you don't need. This is what it's looking like. Now I'm going to take my frame pieces and I'm going to be painting this. I'm going to cover this completely in white, and I'm going to be using some white apple barrel paint, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of paint. Okay, now it's time for cute butterflies. I'm going to start with the lime green color. I'm going to be painting 2 of those butterflies. Once I am done with those, I'm going to be painting 2 purple. Originally, I was going to do yellow, but it was going to be too close to the lime green, so I decided to switch it for purple. And then the last one is this bluish, greenish, cute color. And I will try to find the colors and leave them in the description box. Okay, now I'm taking this rub-on stickers from Dollar Tree, and I am going to be spelling spring on these butterflies. They're really easy to use. Just cut them and then place them on the butterfly. Just rub them on there, and there you have it. Look how cute and easy. I forgot to record this part, but with the black spray paint, I spray painted the welcome metal word. And yeah, I'm so sorry. Now we're going to put these pieces together. I'm going to start to gluing down the the frame. And I'm using some hot glue, just how I told you I was going to do. So I'm just placing them under exactly how they were before. And once that is done, I am going to start gluing my little butterflies. And I think this project is so cute. I absolutely love how this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you have done something different? Are you going to give it a try? Let me know everything down below. Once all of them are glued, I'm going to glue my welcome metal word, and now it's going to say welcome spring. This is so cute. Now that is all for this project. Here is the end result. Look how gorgeous this sign turned out. I absolutely love it. For the next project, I'm using this jar sign as well as 2 of these square signs that I picked up a while ago. I'm also going to need a few popsicle sticks, some florals. These are the ones I'm going to use, and then some purple paint, some white paint, and a little bit of black paint. Okay, first things first, I'm going to start by grabbing my signs and removing the hangers as well as the staples. These are going to get in the way. We don't need them, so remove them. Then off of the jar sign, I do the exact same thing. And once that is done, I'll put it to the side. Now I'm going to take one of the square signs and I'm going to be sanding the back of one of them. And then I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to be finding exactly where I need to cut. We're going to make a big tag looking sign. So I will be cutting 2 inches off of each corner, and I'll trace it with a ruler. And once that is done, I will do this part off camera, but using my hacksaw, I trim both corners and just the sanding sponge to smooth those corners. Okay, now I'm going to take my popsicle sticks and we're going to glue both of these signs together. As you can see right now, I'm gluing these popsicle sticks.
Now that that is done, I'm going to take my white paint, and you can paint this any color. I decided to go with white, and I'm distressing this, so I am just dry brushing some paint on there until I think it's enough. Now it's time to take the jar, and I'm removing the top part, save it for later. And I'm going to take the jar, and I'm sanding down where the hanger was, which it was kind of pointless, so I guess ignore that part. I don't know why I showed this. Anyway, I'm going to take my purple paint. It's from Waverly. The color will be listed down below. And I'm just going to completely coat this jar, and I gave it 2 good coats of paint. Don't forget the edges. Okay, now I had these metal words from Dollar Tree, and I thought it was the perfect time to use them. So I'm taking the word welcome and home, and I'm going to spray paint them black. Now back to the jar. After it's dried, I'm going to take some black paint. This part is optional, but I wanted to give it a little bit more dimension, so I took some black paint, and I'm going to be giving this jar some shadows to make it look more like a mason jar. And I'm just going to be painting the edges wherever I think it needs it. I did get some inspo from Etsy. I saw a few of these projects, and I just thought I needed to make one because I absolutely love them. So this is my take on it. Now I'm also going to be spelling ball, which is I think the brand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it would give it another or I guess a better look to it, and not just like a purple jar. You could add anything you want on it. I just decided to go for this because I don't know, I just liked it like this. And as you can see, these words are not perfect, so I'm trying my best. Okay, now it's time to put all of these pieces together. So I placed welcome home on there, and I just try to figure out exactly where they will look better. So once I figured it out, I grabbed some hot glue, and I started gluing these words on there. Now you could do anything you want with this. The options are endless. This is what I end up doing for mine. Now it's time to glue back that piece we removed at the beginning from the jar. We're gonna glue it right back. And now I'm going to start playing with these florals and kind of just placing them wherever I think they will look good. Of course, you could change the flowers. The white flowers are from Dollar Tree, and these other pinkish orangey color flowers, those are from Walmart. And I believe I got them last year, and I want to say they were $1, and it comes with like 4 little flowers on the bunch. But yeah, once I glue all my flowers down, I'm going to start adding these purple flowers or little branches from Dollar Tree. No, I'm sorry, they're not from Dollar Tree. They're also from Walmart, and I want to say they were $1 too. Look how cute this is looking. I absolutely love it. Now I trim off some of these purplish flowers and add them right there at the bottom just to give it a little bit more volume. And I gave it a better look. And now it's time for the fun. It's time to complete this project. Now we're going to glue down our jar, and look how cute this is. Now to finish up this project, I'm going to take some crafting paper to cover the back because we don't want it to look ugly. We want it to look nice and finished. And I learned this trick from Unicorn Dust Designs. She does this, and it's changed my life. Absolutely love this. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I do all the time. Just rub this standing block on there, and it creates perfect cuts for you. And that completes this project. Look at the end result. Tell me if this is not beautiful. I love this. Absolutely love it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For the next project, I'm going to use this metal wreath, this candle holder. I'm also going to be using some florals. These are from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to be using these other tiny cute roses I picked up recently from Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to use some white paint. Okay, I'm going to start by removing the tag and using my white paint to paint this candle holder. I am going to give it 2 coats of paint because 1 is not going to be enough. Feel free to paint this any color you like. Okay, once that is dried, it's time. I decided to switch for this other brown wreath that I had. It came in a pack of like 3 of those circle wreath, but I didn't have some gold paint, which is what I wanted, and that's why I end up switching for this other brown one. But you feel free to paint these rings whatever color you want. Okay, as you can see, I placed some floral foam right there inside where the candle will go. And I end up adding some little sticks that is to be for support. Those are, what are those called? Bamboo sticks from Dollar Tree. And I added a bunch of hot glue and waited until it dried. And the trick never gets old. Now it's time to start adding our greenery. These tiny flowers, I picked them up from Dollar Tree during fall. And I absolutely love them. I love the colors, and I thought it would be perfect for spring decor, even though they put them out for fall. I don't know. I love them, so I'm going to use them. Then I also started gluing my 3 flowers that are from Dollar Tree. And now I am going to start adding these cute little roses. Aren't these flowers so cute? By the way, this piece would be perfect as a centerpiece for like a really cute wedding or like a quinceañera. You could use this. I know I'm going to use these for my daughter's birthday party, which is coming up soon. But anyways, I thought I would share this with you because I think it's perfect as spring decor. That completes this project. Now look at how beautiful this piece turned out. I think it looks very high end, but that is just my thought. Let me know what you think. For my last and not least project, I'm going to take this home frame I picked up from Target. It was $3. I'm going to use this circle, or I guess oval piece of wood, and these rub-on stickers. And I also end up using some white paint. First, I'm taking this piece of wood. This one is from Hobby Lobby, by the way, but I know Dollar Tree carries these pieces now, and you just need something in the shape of a home. I decided to go through all this process, but I think you can find something in the shape of a home at Dollar Tree. I'm pretty sure you can. Anyways, I took my hacksaw and cut this off, and now I'm going to be using some white paint to paint this home completely. I give it one good coat of paint, and I decided to go with white, but you could go with any color you like. Okay, now I'm going to take my rub-on stickers. These are really cute leaves, and these rub-on stickers are from Dollar Tree. I picked them up last year. I haven't looked for them this year, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna come out with them again. If not, I'm so sorry. But I thought I would include it because it was such an easy project, and if you can find this stuff, then I would really recommend you to grab them because these rub-on stickers are life-changing, especially if you don't have a Cricut machine, and they're so easy to use. You just rub them and then you just peel the sticker off, and the actual letter, or in this case leaves, they just stick on there and you are done with it. You know what? I'm going to make it my mission to find these rub-on stickers again, and I will keep you posted. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then be sure to follow me there because I will be posting updates on Instagram. But anyway, so that is all I do for this part. Once I am done placing all these rub-on stickers, we are going to move to the next part, which is gluing our home into place. So how are we going to do that? Yes, you guessed it. We're going to add some hot glue and then place that home right there. And then I cut our nest on my Cricut machine, but if you have rub-on stickers, then you can just use them, or any sticker. You could really do anything with stickers. So that is all I do for this project. And here is the end result. I absolutely love how this piece turned out. I absolutely love how all these
For this project, I'm going to be using 2 of these wooden cubes, a few boxes from Dollar Tree, different sizes you pick. I'm also going to use some different color paints, as well as these new paints. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Some greenery and some floral foam. I'm also going to use some stickers. Okay, first things first, I am going to start by painting each box / cube a different color. I pick my colors. Some of these are from Waverly, and you will find the exact name in my description box. Okay, so I picked up these tempera spray paint from Dollar Tree, and it's supposed to be newer. And this one came in a pack with this lighter pink and a darker pink, and I was so excited. And I don't know much about paint, but per what I read, it's supposed to be yolk vase, and I was like, interesting. But anyways, the point is that I tried it because I really like that pink color in the bottle. But once I used it, it became a really light pink color, and I was like, I don't have time for this. So honestly, I didn't do the review correctly. I ended up using regular spray paint, and I moved on to the next step. So I'm sorry, maybe later on I will do a review. Maybe we can do it on Instagram, or maybe I can do it on a live. Let me know if you're interested, and we'll do something about that. But anyways, moving on, I decided to distress these boxes because I feel like the colors were too deep for me. So I ended up using some white paint to distress them. Once they were dried, I started adding floral foam to the actual boxes. And once that was glued into place, I started gluing my boxes. I didn't put them in any specific order. I kind of just started playing with them and then arranged them. And I decided that I wanted them to go like this because I liked the different sizes in them. And I don't know, I just liked the way they were looking. And so that's what I did. Once that was done, now it's time to add the wording on there. You could use all Dollar Tree stickers. I decided to only use the P in the end, and then I used my Cricut machine and cut the rest of the letters in a bigger size so they could have different size letters. Once that was done, I started adding some Spanish moss into my little boxes so we can start adding our greenery after that. And yeah, I'm going to be using different greenery. This one, the yellowish, is from the most recent greenery the Dollar Tree came out. The same as these really pretty lavender flowers. I really love them. I need to pick up some more. Now I added some roses. I ended up switching those green flowers for different ones. And honestly, that is all for this project. Now let's take a look at the end result. And here it is, the end result. I absolutely love how colorful and how springy this looks. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For the next project, I'm using this Dollar Tree wheel wreath as well as some greenery, that wire garland, some flowers, and I'm recycling this sign from last year, and I'm also going to need a bow. Okay, now I'm going to start with the wire garland. Now it doesn't have to be this one, it could be any wire, or you can even use some something to just wrap your flowers greenery around. I took the lavenders and I cut them individually, and with the wire wreath, or I'm sorry, not the wire wreath, the wire garland, I'm going to use that to wrap around these lavenders. I'm so sorry, my head is like all over the place. I'm a little sick. Well, I'm not sick. I am dealing with allergies. So if my voice sounds a little deeper, is because of that. I am so sorry. Anyways, I end up wrapping 7 of the individual lavenders on the top and 4 at the bottom, and I left some space, and you'll see why. Now I'm going to take my pink flowers, and I'm going to also take them and cut them individually, and then I'll grab one by one and I'll start placing them on there. I want to say I used 2 bunches of these flowers, 2 little bouquets. And then I added a lot more on the top because, of course, there's more lavenders on the top. And then I added like 3 or 4 at the bottom. Now, I decided to add these white flowers as well. And I cut them individually too. And then I just kind of stuffed them where I think I needed them. And I am so sorry because I don't know if it was my phone, where the one I used for recording, or if it was my light. But for some reason, some of these clips look purple. Like now, can you see how the color changed? And I'm like, you can even tell what color I'm using. It looks grayish, like, I don't even know, like gray color, but it's not. It's like a really pretty blue I used to color this sign. As you can see, this is the color it should be looking like. I don't know, something was wrong. I will make sure I figure it out before I do my next video. But we had to use these clips because these projects were done. There was no going back, and yeah, that's what happened. But anyways, as you can see, I painted this on, and then using my Cricut machine, I printed or I cut Hello Spring with some vinyl, and I created a little sign. Now I'm going to be gluing it onto my wreath, and then I use some ribbon to reinforce in the back to make sure all is going to stay in place, and I glue it to the wire. Wherever the wire was, that's where I added it. After that was done, I added my little bow to the top of the sign just as a detail, and that completes this project. Now here is the end result, and this one is one of my favorites in this video. I think this wreath turned out beautiful. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For this project, I'm using these scraps of wood. I'm also using this tin flower container, some Dollar Tree flowers and greenery, as well as some floral foam, some white paint, and also some stencils. Okay, I'm going to start with the scraps of wood. Now keep in mind, you can recreate this. You could use Dollar Tree signs. I just wanted to use this scraps of wood I had on hand. And now I took these two scraps of wood or sticks that I had and some nails, and I'm gonna nail all these pieces together. Once everything is nailed down, I am going to be painting this completely in white. You could leave it how it is. I wanted to paint mine white. You could paint it any color you want. Once that is painted and drying, now I'm going to take my floral tin and some floral foam, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom. Now I'm adding some Spanish moss to cover all that foam, and then it's time to have fun. Now you could use any flowers you want or any greenery, honestly, but my son is going to say fresh cut flowers, so I decided to go with flowers. Now as you can see, I placed the greenery on there, and it was all a whole bunch, and then I was like, it's not looking good. Once I added the flowers, they kind of got lost, so I decided to add the flowers and then cut the leaves individually and kind of just play around and like place them wherever I thought I needed them. I decided with 3 different types of flowers because it's supposed to be a sign that says fresh cut flowers, so I decided I needed different flowers. So as you can see, there's some roses, and anyways, yeah, you get the idea. Now, once that is done, we're going to put it to the side. Okay, once my wooden pieces are dried, I cut a stencil because I ran out of black vinyl, and I was a little bit disappointed, but at the end I ended up liking this. So I created this stencil, and then I painted it completely in black. And then once that was dried, I started removing this, and I knew this was gonna happen because it kind of bleed through it, and it wasn't perfect like I wanted it. But then after that, I was like, well, maybe we can still fix this. And so I decided to sand it. So I grabbed my block, my sanding block, and sand it, and it kind of looks rustic now. And even though it was not what I was picturing it still turned out really, really pretty. Now I am grabbing my drill, and I'm going to create 2 little holes on my tin container, and I will create the same holes on my wooden pieces. And this is going to help us get these attached. I used some twine, and I ran it through the holes on the pot or on the tin container, and then I ran them through the holes on the wooden pieces, and that is what is going to make sure it keeps it together. And that way, when I hang it on my wall, everything's going to be safe and it's going to be fine. And that is all for this project. Now take a look at how this sign turned out. I absolutely love it. This is my second favorite maybe from this video. Maybe this one and the other one are my number 1 favorites, but anyways, those are mine. Let me know what you think about this project. For this project, I'm going to be using this ring wreath, as well as some lavenders, some Dollar Tree ribbon, and this cute little stand as well from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by taking my ribbon and gluing it to this ring. I add some hot glue. I find the middle on this circle. It doesn't necessarily need to be the middle, but that's what I did with this one. Now I add glue to the other side and then I wrap it behind it. I am going to trim my ribbon to make sure, everything is even. And then I glue it to where we started. And even though it's not going to be like really tight in the back, I end up adding a little bit of glue to make sure it's tight on the back. Now I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing. I added some hot glue. I'm going to glue it on there. And I start on the side that is going to be the back, just to make sure that if I mess up or something is uneven, it's going to be on the back. And then I did the exact same thing behind it. Now for the bottom portion, it's a smaller portion. I add some hot glue to the end and then I glue the little ribbon on there, as you can see. And then I trimmed it at the bottom because it's not going to be enough to cover the whole thing. So I cut 2 different pieces to cover the front and back. As you can see, I'm removing what we're not going to be needing now, and that creates a little pocket. Now once our pocket is completed, it's time to cut these lavenders individually. All we're going to do is stuff them in our pocket that we created. So it doesn't have to be lavenders. I just choose to use lavenders. I think they look really, really pretty. Now, once all of them are stuffed in there, this is what it's looking like. Now, you could leave it how it is, but me being extra, I decided to add this other ribbon on there. This is the wire ribbon from Dollar Tree, and it looks like burlap trim. And I added it because it has that little white piece hint on there, and I thought it would be a good contrast with the ribbon that we're already using as a pocket. Now I also created this little bow. It's a very simple bow. It's the exact same way I do all my bows, and that completes this project. All you do is grab your stand, and here it is. I think this is a very simple but yet beautiful project. Let me know what you think. Would you recreate it? Let me know. For this project, I'm using this board I found at Goodwill for 69 cents. I'm also going to be using some white black paint as well as different color paint. And I'm also using this laser cutouts in the shapes of flowers and butterflies. I'm going to start with this board piece, and I'm going to paint the top in the color white. Dollar Tree does sell something similar to this, and it cost $3, I believe. And yeah, it doesn't have to be this. It could be a frame. It could be anything you want. Okay, now I'm taking my flowers and my butterflies, and I'm going to be painting them. And I want to apologize because I really thought I was recording when I was painting these flowers, and I don't have the footage, so I'm so sorry. But the point here is, make it your own, use the colors you want, paint your flowers whatever color. Now, once that is done, we'll let them dry. Now we move on to the next step, which I'm going to be painting the whole side edge on this board in the color black. I wanted to do the bottom black and then the middle a different color. I was going to do pink, but it did not end up working out, so I ended up painting completely in black. Okay, here are all my flowers, butterflies, and everything I painted, and it's completely dry. So now I play around with my flowers, kind of figure out where I want them. Once I do that, I am going to use some hot glue to start gluing them. I'm going to start with the flowers that have the leaves just to make sure they are down, and that can help me guide me put the other ones into place. This is looking really, really cute. Now I'm going to add my butterflies, and as you can see, I saved one of the flowers and one of the butterflies to go on the top left corner. And now using my Cricut machine and vinyl, I'm going to spell happiness blooms here, and you know the drill. I'm just placing my word right there, making sure it's even, and then I'll do the other one, and that completes this project. And here it is, the end result. I love how this sign turned out.